Hey, welcome back to Well, That's Interesting. The, oh Lord, not these again, can I skip to the end edition. Today is episode 264. Even though you don't want to, we should talk about the world's largest spiderweb and first of its kind butt drag fossil discovered in South Africa. My friends, don't you dare look away. Don't you procrastinate listening to the entirety of this episode just because the first half of the show is a layered nightmare featuring creatures we've covered at least 11 other times, according to my Google Drive. Trust me, every second will be worth the trauma. I'm following up the milestone of episode 250, why yes, it can rain millions of spiders, and romancing the kakapaw, how to breed New Zealand's most endangered bird, with something I didn't know was possible. During that celebration, we covered why and how some tiny species of spider collectively take to the air, and a few extreme cases of that phenomenon, one called ballooning. Those cases were so shocking, I shit you not. They actually led to an instance where a listener stopped me on the street to tell me how god-awful it was, and they said that with a smile. Well, to that person and to everyone who tuned in, I have great news. I think I found something that may be worse, in like the best possible way. Simply put, under the Balkans, researchers found a single web whose size, I shit you not once again, is comparable in square feet to a single-family ranch-style house or a multi-bedroom apartment, including 2 to 3 bedrooms. Similarly, the web's amount of space can also serve as an office for like 6 to 10 people, allowing 100 to 100 square feet per person with shared amenities. What I mean to say is that this web is over 1,100 square feet in size, and I did the clickety-clack calculations to convert that number into something you can visualize to leave you in absolute shock. Like, my voice shook there a little bit. Did you hear that? Like, the size made me shake. And guess what? That is just the beginning. Its occupants, location, and smell will leave you saying, damn, I'd rather be in the southern tablelands of Australia where they had that ballooning event you talked about in episode 250. Oh, God. My friends, we will be diving into the cave. Yes, I said cave, where this web was found, why it's called the Sulfur Cave, of all things. We will meet the team who loves finding this kind of shit and why. Why in the holy hell a discovery like this is actually important. That might be the greatest shock of all. Then after the break, scooting. That's the first time I ever said that word on this show, and it's about time. Now, the Oxford English Dictionary defines it as leaving somewhere quickly, but if you're a dog or cat owner, then you know it can mean something a little different. And today, we're talking about the little different definition, when an animal squats and drags its booty parts along the ground. We will be traveling to gorgeous South Africa, where along the southern coast, a discovery was made unlike any other in recorded archaeological history. Around 126,000 years ago, one animal performed such an action, and that action was actually fossilized for the ages. We will learn which adorable animal it was. We will be amazed, and possibly equally as shocked as to who they are related to. We will meet the team who found this one-of-a-kind impression and the methods they used to determine, yes, by Jove, this is a scoot. Delightful. In the meantime, hi, I'm Jill Chacha. And if this is your first time listening, welcome to the flock, my itchy business goose. To begin, I'm going to need you to slap on a helmet and to bring as many goddamn carabiners as you can possibly attach to yourself, because the year is 2022. And we've just joined the Czech Speleological Society. As you can tell by the context, the name of this fine establishment, and against my better judgment, I've signed us up for cave exploration. Now, wait, hold on, don't blame me. Like the isolated time capsules this society plunges into, their website, speleo.cz, has not changed since the early 2000s, and I was just smitten by not only the basic coding of that era, but by the site's charm. The landing page contains a banner with rotating photos of members standing inside caves with their hands on their hips, donning faces expressing, by golly, amazement at rock formations, and a letter that opens with, quote, "Dear caving friends, how could I not endanger our lives? I am all in, and now so are you. We're about to take a road trip from the Czech Republic, located to the right of Germany, all the way south along the coast of the Adriatic Sea, passing through Croatia and Montenegro, until we find ourselves at the southern border of Albania, which meets the northern border of Greece. If you spelunk on over to today's post over at the old socials, you'll see a map of the area, and a particular spot circled in red. That is the Sarandaparo River, and the majority of its lanky body flows through 55 kilometers or 34 miles of northwestern Greece, with its final 10 kilometers forming part of the border with Albania. That is where we are, straddling the border between these two countries along the banks of this river. If you swipe past that map I just spoke about, you'll see a screenshot of this place, another special little spot called Vramener Canyon. Now, there are a few reasons why it's considered special, shall we say. One, the name Vramener literally means smelly water in Greek. And two, that smell drifting through the air is sulfur. This odor, that of rotting eggs, can only mean one thing to a hole-loving member of a spelunking society. An entrance to a cave, and it's nearby. A cave so isolated and hidden from sunlight, its ecosystem produces this smell. We only need to find it. So here we are, at the precipice of an adventure, literally inhaling the scent of the unknown. Are you ready? No, of course not. I'm not ready either. And despite the collective years of experience of every member of that society joining us today, they were not prepared either for what we were about to stumble into. Please, drop whatever smelly thing you're holding right now and pick up your phone. Head on over to Instagram or Blue Sky and swipe past all those previous maps for a brand new one of the aptly named Sulphur Cave. Now, if you're too busy examining some other hole yourself and your hands are full, don't worry, I can describe in detail what we're looking at and where we are. Please imagine something of a diagonal line similar to a backward slash. So the left point is higher than the right point. Now, that lower right-hand corner just so happens to be the entrance to our stanky cave, fed by the Sarandaparo River, and please put a pin in this. This entrance happens to be located on the Greek side and composes about 10% of the entire line. When you get past that part, we're actually under southern Albania, and the cave goes on and on and on. Along the way, the map notes the changing composition of the cave. There's gravel, gypsum, and large limestone rocks, for example. And extending from various points along this line, there are question marks, marking the sites of additional entrances that trail off into areas yet to be explored. As reported by Tom Hale of IFL Science, together with two nearby caves, Sulphur Cave forms an underground maze of huge chambers and winding tunnels. Now, you'd think the discovery of a brand new subterranean labyrinth would be the highlight. Oh, no. That highlight was actually overshadowed by what the team saw barely 60 meters into the entrance, and still decided to proceed farther into the cave. I'm gonna have to get a bit forceful here and tell you that whatever hole you're looking at right now, that is dog shit compared to what you're about to see. Please turn away and head to today's post. There, you're going to find a member of a completely different team belonging to the study we're about to dive into ourselves. He has his hands on his hips with a facial expression that I can only describe as so shocked. It's like seeing through time and space and experiencing all the pain and wonder that comes with it. Because, y'all, in front of him, just inches from his face, from floor to ceiling, is a web, a spider web. Or should I say, only a small section of a spider web. My glorious bipedal business goose, unbeknownst to the Czech Speleological Society, at this moment, they also discovered the world's largest spider web. Let's get into it. Since 2022, researchers from around the world have given the Sulphur Cave a thorough poking to help reveal who lives here and how. Because, as it turns out, this place, despite all toxic odds, is teeming with life. Earthworms, snails and slugs, non-biting flies called midges and their larvae, beetles and their larvae can be found here. Not to mention numerous centipedes, isopods, aka terrestrial invertebrates, pseudo-scorpions, mites, actual scorpions, and springtails, who aren't insects per se, but they sure as hell look like it, and there's 9,000 species of them. They eat everything from decomposing plant material to fungus to anything smaller than them, which isn't saying much, being that they're only 0.2 of an inch in length on average. Okay, anyway, in a world where sunlight does not exist, a world, quote, not so easy to reach, where scientists must wear a wetsuit and boots and wade through chest-high water, who sweat in the 80-degree Fahrenheit heat, a world where a ventilation mask is a necessity, as, quote, all you can smell is sulfur hydrogen and you cannot breathe, end quote. How? How do they exist? Those quotes are from an interview with Blarina Vernozzi, a biologist, zoologist, and ecologist at the University of Tirana in Albania, and co-author of the web study we're poking right now. She said all of this to Adil Hassan of the New York Times. She and her colleagues, including lead study author Istvan Jurak, an associate professor at biology at Sapientia Hungarian University of Transylvania in Romania, were as hardcore as their names and homes, conducting research in this pitch-black hellscape. But before we get into their own monumental discoveries, we need to understand how this ecosystem functions, as it will lead us to the big reveal. That's right, there's something even bigger coming up. Now, the world we live in depends on plants and photosynthesis, but here, creatures don't need the sun as their source of energy. Identically to the deep fucking ocean where hydrothermal vents sprout from the sea floor, organisms at the very bottom of the food chain in Sulfur Cave use chemoautotrophy to survive, a process that literally translates to self-nourishing using chemicals. Please, unpin that pin from before. The one about how waters of the Sarandaparo River wander into this cave. Turns out, the oxidation of hydrogen sulfide in the underground water creates sulfuric acid, which erodes the rock, creating the tunnels, caverns, and that signature smell. But landscaping isn't all it's being used for. The bacteria in this cave have evolved to convert that same hydrogen sulfide gas into energy. And as they multiply, they create a sticky biofilm that covers the walls of the cave. It is this slimy, layered goodness that's the main food source for a number of creatures I just listed, including the population of approximately 2.4 million non-biting flies called midges, who just happen to be the favorite food source for the 512 species of spider who live here. I will say that again, 512 species of spider. That is impressive and creepy and everything in between those words. But you know what? Only two steal the show. Let's get back to that web, shall we? Istvan, Blarina, and the gang that got extremely close and personal with this structure, not only taking measurements, but samples of the occupants for DNA results. And for those results, I'm going to have to ask you to sit the fuck down. Okay, good. I'm just going to say it. In terms of proportions, the web spans 106 square meters, or 1,140 square feet, which, like I said at the top of the show, is about the same size as a multi-bedroom apartment, including 2 to 3 bedrooms. But in this particular case, it's not housing a few people, but an estimated 111,000 spiders. Did you vomit? That's fine. In fact, I'd expect that after dumping such information on you, but please stick with me. That disgust may just transcend into, oh hey, that's kind of cool and inspirational. Trust me here. DNA analysis revealed that the hundreds of thousands of citizens of this megalopolis belong to Tegenaria domestica and Prinierigon vagans. Okay, who are they? I'm so glad you asked. Now, if you have the courage to take a close look at the photos over at the old social medias that focus in on parts of this web, you'll notice circles. Those circles are actually funnels, and they were made by T. domestica, which was given such a name because, frankly, they are fucking everywhere and probably in your home as we speak. With females growing up to just under half an inch, their global distribution encompasses Europe, North Africa, parts of the Middle East, and Central Asia. They've been introduced to the Americas, Australia, and New Zealand. And now, they're here in a cave under Greece and Albania. You know what? I think we need to give them a round of applause because they are killing it. P. vagans can usually be found in Europe, North Africa, and parts of Asia, and they love themselves a humid environment like meadows and marshes. And it turns out stank-ass caves like this one. The web builders only grow to about 0.2 of an inch, which means a web of this size, that of a small house, was built by beings who barely exist. Again, that's impressive. Until I tell you this. In our world, above ground, T. domestica and P. vagans are usually solitary spiders, and not only that, T. domestica usually feeds on P. vagans. This is truly the upside down. Here, they join forces to create a colony. Why? Well, the answer just might lie in the cave's darkness and abundance. Quote, I've been working for 18 years with spiders, and I've never seen such a community. In the cave, because it's dark in there, our hypothesis is that they don't see each other, so they don't attack. End quote, said Ballerina to the New York Times. My friends, it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Why waste energy chasing a fellow extremely fast 8-legged creature when there's nearly an endless flying parade of flies that could be caught? As the team's paper, titled An Extraordinary Colonial Spider Community in Sulphur Cave, sustained by chemoautotrophy, went on to elaborate, quote, parasocial behavior, or colonial behavior, i.e. cooperation and web building by sharing the same spatial framework, has often been reported in subtropical and tropical arachnid communities and are often correlated with locally high abundance of food sources, end quote. That's right. You heard it here, folks. When everyone is supplied with food and shelter, you end up with a peaceful environment. I think there's a lesson in here somewhere, but I digress. Let's carry on with the additional results of those DNA tests. It looks as though the estimated 69,000 T. domestica spiders and more than 42,000 P. vagans who make up this community have also successfully adapted to and depend on Sulphur Cave, so much so the spiders' sulfur-rich diet has completely reshaped their microbiomes, causing them to be significantly less diverse than the microbiomes of spiders from the same two species outside the cave. Molecular data also showed, quote, that the spiders inside the cave were genetically different from their relatives living outside, end quote, from Sasha Parr of Live Science. So, has your disgust transcended? Okay, you don't have to answer that. Rather, let's focus on Istvan's experience, which he so beautifully described to Sasha in an email. Quote, the natural world still holds countless surprises for us. If I were to attempt to put into words all the emotions that surged through me when I saw the web, I would highlight admiration, respect, and gratitude. You have to experience it to truly know what it feels like. End quote. Istvan, some of us can only take your word for it, but you know what? I get you, girl. After the break, we're leaving the innards of Greece and Albania for the surface of South Africa, and 8-legged creatures for a 4-legged one whose sassiness will make you fall in love. A Scoot for the Ages is next. Stay tuned.
So what do you want?
What do I want? I want to use my degree for good, and in general.
I kind of meant like a muffin or a latte.
I want a job with a generous work-from-grocery-store policy.
You are here a lot.
Debbie, please, I'm working.
I want a job that will change the world.
Ma'am, this is a drive-thru.
And some nuggets.
With LinkedIn's new AI-powered job search, you can find roles that match your unique skills, so you can dare to discover more. Visit linkedin.com/jobs to learn more.
Hey, I'm Ryan Eggold from TV shows like New Amsterdam, The Blacklist, and of course, Leave It to Beaver.
You're on that?
I was the Beaver.
Didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Adam Rose, an actor on TV, blue cardigan guy on your social medias, and avid speedwalker.
We're the hosts of Small Stupid Stuff, an important new podcast from Studio 71.
Ryan and I talk about the big issues, the heavy questions, pressing topics.
Like coffee date etiquette?
Best time to eat cereal.
And of course, whether you put your toilet paper over or under or around.
I don't know what a round is.
I don't
What does
either,
that
but I'm
mean?
definitely an overman.
Yeah. Every episode, we're joined by a celebrity guest who gives us their hottest takes on the stupidest, smallest stuff.
Jocko Sims.
Michelle Carre.
Alex Breckenridge.
Pete Habersberger. Amber Childers.
Our goal is to solve the world's problems by finally figuring out the truth about crap that doesn't matter.
So listen to Small Stupid Stuff on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And watch us on YouTube. New episodes every Tuesday.
And we're back. We are so back. And my friends, feel free to ditch all those carabiners because we need to make room for chisels, brushes, and your favorite measuring tape. Be sure to pack them tight as we hop on a direct flight to Cape Town, South Africa, tucked away in the very southwest corner of the country, overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Now, after we land in Cape Town International Airport, I'm going to have to ask you to rent the cutest Jeep we can find because I'm a classic New Yorker without a license, and we have an appointment to keep. On our calendar is a meetup with Lynn Quick and Charles Helm of the African Center for Coastal Paleoscience, a division of Nelson Mandela University. Now, what the fuck is this and where are we going exactly? I'm so glad you asked, since you're driving. First, the center, whose goal, according to their website, accp.mandela.ac.za, is elegantly stated as thus, quote, given the unique geographical position of Nelson Mandela University, situated at the possible ground zero of human cognitive origins, as well as a locus for a diverse range of biotic radiations, a major aim of the AACP will be to formalize and strengthen the existing collaborations between the Nelson Mandela University and other institutions, both nationally and internationally, to reconstruct the quaternary paleo landscape and seascape of the south and southeast coasts. This reconstruction will enable the development of testable hypotheses on the selective regimes that shaped the region's biota, including modern humans. No region anywhere else in the world offers such an opportunity, end quote. Jesus Christ. Okay. Did you get chills? As we drive east along this ravishing coast to our destination, overlooking beaches hugged by rugged mountains, are you not overwhelmed by the prospect of uncovering a snapshot of our ancestors' past during the Pleistocene era some 2.5 million to about 11,700 years ago? Well, I have great news. We just completed our 4-hour drive to Still Bay, an area that also goes by the name Bay of Sleeping Beauty thanks to the number of nature preserves and historical sites that date back 77,000 years ago, making them the oldest known human settlements today. But all of this is going to have to take a back seat in our lovely Jeep. Lynn and Charles are already deep in conversation with Mike Fabricius, a man hot for trace fossils, aka the ancient imprints of animal footprints and animal activity. He just found this. Please, drop whatever bullshit you're holding right now and pick up your phone, tap on today's post over at the socials, and you'll find a very important rock. I'll give you a second. Now, for those holding a child or feeding a sick loved one, and you're just so busy with that crap, fine. I'll describe this treasure. Imagine a classic gray boulder, about 4 feet across. Perfect. Okay, now, thanks to our favorite tape measure, we can record the solitary straight line running through it. This impression is 37.4 inches long, 5.1 inches wide, and boy howdy, inside it are some immaculate details. As stated by Lynn and Charles in their article on livescience.com, quote, its outer margins are slightly raised, and within it, there is a 2 centimeter high, or 0.8 of an inch, raised feature, 10 centimeters by 9 centimeters, or 4 by 3.5 inches. Clearly, something was dragged across the surface when it consisted of loose sand, end quote. My solid business goose, before Lynn, Charles, and Mike, was a curious mark that deep down, in their Pleistocene-era loving hearts, they felt the truth. Girl, this is a scoot. Let's get into it. Our first clue to support the scoot hypothesis is clear as day. That 4 by 3.5 inch mound, a mere 0.8 of an inch deep, is a coprolite. And If you're a longtime member of the flock, then that may sound familiar to you. Way the fuck back in episode 146, the largest Viking poop ever found so far, and a 30,000-year-old frozen squirrel, we learned what a coprolite is. It's fossilized poop. And here it is, in all its glory. The second piece of evidence comes from what is lacking here. There are no tracks, no hoof prints, footprints, or paw prints, suggesting that the butt smear came after the tracks, essentially wiping them out. And finally, the last piece of evidence, the piece de resistance, if you will, was provided by a technical method aptly called optically stimulated luminescence. And it certainly got things going. Long clickety-clack calculations short, this method figures out when material like sand was last exposed to light before they sealed up into a fossil. As reported by ScienceDirect.com, Nature.com, and AntarcticGlaciers.org, over time, mineral crystals in materials like sand absorb energy from natural background radiation, like light. And that energy is stored as electrons within the crystal structure. To measure this here stored energy, scientists first take samples to a lab and place them under red light to prevent any further stimulation. When they're ready to measure, the sample is given the old pokey and stimulated with specific wavelengths of light like blue or infrared. This releases trapped electrons, causing the sample to emit light. And brace yourself for this part. The intensity of the emitted light is measured by something called a photomultiplier tube and is proportional to the amount of energy that has been stored in the crystals. By comparing the stored numbers to the rate at which the energy was absorbed, thanks to that stimulation situation, scientists can calculate the time elapsed since the minerals were last exposed to light. It's fucking wild. Whoever thought of this, I tip my hat. And I tip my hat to the creature who scooted for a good 3 feet. Oh, speaking of which, when was the last time this impression was exposed to light? Drumroll, please. 126,000 years ago. Meaning this happened 126,000 years ago, well before any humans settled into the area. So, who did it? Well, we don't have to look very far to find out. Still Bay is home to and has been the home of a stout, communal chonker for literally millions of years. Please, behold, over at the old socials, a picture of your new favorite animal, the rock hyrax, or as the locals call them, dussies. I know, how many do you want? Like 12? Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know about you, but I've never seen an animal before with resting sassy face. Every photo of this thing is sassy, sassy, sassy. I am amazed, I'm in love, and honestly, I believe its lifestyle lives up to its look. Let's learn about our new bundle of joy, shall we? And brace yourself. If you haven't already, you're about to fall for them right now. In terms of size, dussies are described as yellowish to grayish-brown, well-furried, rotund animals with short tails, growing to 12 to 28 inches in length, and between 4 to 10 pounds in weight. If a capybara and a beaver had a good time, you'd end up with something similar to a hyrax. But they are not related to either of these, by a mile. Put a pin in this, we will certainly get back to it. In terms of lifestyle, PBS, RIP, has an incredible rock hyrax fact sheet. It's available online, and it simply cannot be beat, so I'm just going to quote directly from it. Quote, "The rock hyrax is diurnal, meaning it typically feeds during the daytime. Although they spend about 5% of their time doing active pursuits like searching for food, they spend the rest of their time lounging and doing nothing. Their diet varies depending on the time of year. During the wet season, rock hyraxes eat mostly grass. However, when the grass dries, they switch to fruits and leaves. Their stomachs have 3 chambers with bacteria, which help them digest the plants they eat. When they feed, groups form a circle with their heads pointing out to keep an eye out for predators." End quote. Please put another pin in this formation behavior. If that sounds like the behavior of another animal in Africa, you're not wrong. We will get back to it. Now, continuing from this masterpiece, quote, Their habitat includes inland cliffs and mountain peaks. It is here where they form colonies of up to 50 individuals. Within their large colonies, there's typically one male for every 5 to 7 females that patrol a certain territory. Hyraxes have extremely long pregnancies with a gestation period of 7 to 8 months. A female gives birth to 1 to 4 pups at a time, once each year. Infants are born with their ears and eyes open, and within an hour after birth, they can run and jump. They look like miniature adults with the same luxuriant coat. Nursery groups are formed within the colony for all the babies, where the mothers take turns babysitting the pups. While the pups suckle until they are 3 months old, they begin to eat vegetation within the first 3 days of birth. Over the next few months of their lives, the young learn from their mothers, siblings, and other group members by watching and then repeating the actions they see. While females stay with the same colony for life, males leave the colony at about 2 years of age to go live on the outskirts of another colony and perhaps take it over one day. End quote. Again, does this not sound like another particular famous matriarchal creature of the African savanna? If your spidey senses are tingling, you're not crazy. Look, listen. What I'm about to tell you is going to feel as though it can't possibly be true based on what you're seeing with your very own eyes. But deep in your heart, just like with Lynn and Charles, you know it to be true. Genetically, hyraxes fall within the order Hyracoidea and are descendants of giant hyracoids, such as the Titanohyrax. Stick with me. During the Eocene era, 55 to 34 million years ago, Titanohyrax roamed what is now modern-day Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, and Libya. As to what it looked like, well, I have an illustrated example over at the socials, but if you can't take a peek, all you need to do is scale up a modern hyrax from today. Scale it up to about 1,300 to 2,900 pounds, and elongate the legs as necessary to bear that kind of weight. Now, the PBS fact sheet didn't mention that rock hyraxes have tiny tusks that are not canine teeth, but they're upper incisors that grow continuously throughout their lives. So please, elongate those tusks and keep that word in mind, all while unpinning those pins from before. Okay, I need you to sit the fuck down. From Titanohyrax and giant hyracoids, from these creatures evolved our little dussies here, elephants and manatees. I know. Visually, it doesn't feel right, but these 3 creatures are related and share a common ancestor. Think about it, okay? Think about it. The circular formation, the matriarchal colonies, the long pregnancies, the tusks, all of this had you subconsciously thinking elephant. Yeah, you were right. Dussies and elephants also share other numerous features, such as, quote, toenails, excellent hearing, sensitive pads on their feet, good memory, higher brain functions compared with other similar mammals, and the shape of some of their bones, end quote. From the episode Hyrax, the little brother of the elephant, as featured on Wildlife on One BBC TV. Jesus, your life will never be the same, and neither will Lynn's and Charles'. For you see, this scoot fossil is the only scoot fossil discovered so far, and the only fossilized hyrax tracks ever to be identified. It's a twofer. Get it? Okay, anyway, our heroes feel the weight of their accomplishments as noted in their article on Life Science, stating, quote, in the world of paleontology, anything this unusual is important, and we feel privileged to be able to interpret them. End quote. Yeah, I agree. Even covering this on the show has been a privilege and an honor. And thank you for listening, rating, subscribing, telling your friends about the world's largest spiderweb. Say it like really quickly so they don't interrupt, and just drop it on them. It's like whack. And then they're like, once they're like really disgusted and angry with you, talk about the butt drag fossil. Talk about the scoot. It'll work out. And a round thanks to the folks over at Airwave Media, the podcast network to which WTI belongs. If you love this show, and you do, you'll love the other podcasts in this family. And please, stay interesting.